Welcome back, Outlaws. On this adventure, we're heading to the edge of time, into a place where ancient footsteps, desert silence, and 1,000,000 gallons of mystery rise from the earth every day. So stay tuned. You know, you can drive for hours through Arizona's dusty high desert and you think you've seen it all. But then you step out of your car, round a corner, climb a small hill, and there it is, water, perfectly still, perfectly round, and bubbling with secrets. Montezuma Well isn't just a sinkhole, it's a 13,000-year-old mystery, a life-giving spring, a sacred portal, and somehow it's still flowing, even when everything else runs dry. As we walk the pathway up to the top of the hill, I didn't expect to find a bottomless mystery tucked into the Arizona high desert. But there it was, Montezuma Well, a perfectly round sinkhole 386 feet wide, rimmed with ancient limestone and whispering with stories. Every day, about 1.6 million gallons of water rises from the earth beneath it, steady, silent, and strange. Even in the harshest droughts, the water doesn't stop. The water's journey begins high up on the Mogollon Rim, where snow melt and rain seep down through the layers of stone. It takes about 10,000 years to trickle through that underground maze before emerging here like a message in a bottle from the Ice Age. As modern-day people, we're not the first to be drawn to it. Long before the Sinagua carved canals or built cliff dwellings here, long before there were canals to carve, people stood at the edge of this water. Archaeological evidence suggests that humans have been visiting this site for over 13,000 years. They may have watched it form or arrived just after, drawn to the constant water like birds to an oasis. The Sinagua arrived around the year 700. Indigenous and resilient, they used the well's outflow to irrigate their crops, carving canals, which we'll see a little later in this video, that still cling to the travertine cliffs today. They built their homes into the stone, their windows gazing forever out over the water. As we approach the edge of the well, just like the Sinagua, the Hopi, the Yavapai, the Apache, and the Zuni, this place is more than just a marvel. It's sacred. Some believe the well is a place of emergence where life itself came into being. Others see it as a portal between worlds, a spiritual threshold where the seen and unseen meet. Even today, it remains a site of ceremony and reverence. About the name Montezuma Well. Montezuma never saw this place. The label came later, courtesy of some enthusiastic and inaccurate settlers. It stuck like a burr in your sock. Although the water looks inviting, and it might be tempting to take a dip or take a sip, the water is full of dissolved carbon dioxide and arsenic that fish don't even stand a chance. Ranchers tried long ago, and well, let's just say that experiment ended with a lot of belly-up trout. But life finds a way. 5 species found nowhere else on Earth calls this place home. They survive where nothing else can, thriving in the still, silent chemistry of this ancient pool. I bet you're wondering what it looks like under the surface of the water. Well, let's take a dive and check it out. The water at Montezuma Well starts off dark green and cloudy, like it's hiding something. As we descend deeper, the light fades and the mystery thickens. Then, at about 55 feet down, the bottom comes into view. And it's alive. Sands bubble and shift as the water seeps up from underground springs, feeding the well from below. These tiny shrimp-like creatures drifting through the well are Hyela Montezuma, a species of amphipod found nowhere else on Earth. They've adapted to the well's unusual chemistry, thriving in water rich in carbon dioxide and low in oxygen. They feed on algae and organic debris, forming the base of the food chain here. Delicate and translucent, they move in slow, graceful pulses, like they're dancing through a world that time forgot. The sands at the bottom of Montezuma Well don't just sit still. They shimmer, they swirl, and they breathe. Watching them is like staring into the Earth's pulse. Tiny streams of water rise from beneath, sending up gentle eruptions of sand that bloom and collapse like underwater mirages. There's no sound, no splash, just the quiet rhythm of a world beneath the surface, doing what it's done for thousands of years. And now we spot something stranger, leeches, not the blood-sucking kind, but the quiet nighttime hunters, feeding on the smaller creatures that call this place home. And now comes the water scorpion, gliding like a shadow, with a needle-like mouth built for ambush. More leeches follow, and finally a close-up of one of those shrimp, delicate, translucent, and completely unique to this ancient pool. Back on the surface now, we follow the rim trail, making our way to the far side of the well. From here, the view opens up, and so do the stories. Tucked into the limestone walls, the cliff dwellings of the Sinagua people built between the years 1125 and 1400. These weren't just homes, they were vantage points, cool refuges, and spiritual spaces, perched above the water like watchful eyes. The Sinagua weren't the only ones drawn to this place. After Arizona became a U.S. territory in 1863, settlers began arriving in the Verde Valley. In 1870, Wales and Jenny Arnold became the first Anglo-American family to settle at Montezuma Well. They ran a mail station and used the ancient Sinagua Canal to irrigate their crops. That's living history in motion. Later, the land passed down to future generations of the family, who turned the area into a ranch, an orchard, and even into a tourist stop. They offered boat rides on the well and tried unsuccessfully to stock it with fish. The fish, they didn't last, but the stories did. On this visit, the lower trail to the cliff dwellings was closed. It's not for repairs, though. It's for the Townsend's big-eared bats. These sensitive creatures use the caves below as a maternity roost, raising their pups in the quiet dark, from May through July. Even a little noise can cause them to abandon their young, so the trail is closed to protect them. It's a reminder that this place isn't just ancient, it's alive. These cliff dwellings, carved into the limestone over 800 years ago, still hold the memory of those who lived here. Stones stacked by hand overlooking sacred spring that never stopped flowing. Even with the lower trail closed to protect the bats below, this view from the rim is enough to feel their presence, quiet, resilient, and timeless. As we leave the rim behind and head down the trail toward the well's outlet, we pass by the low stone walls of ancient ruins, quiet reminders of the people who once lived here and worked here. These walls are all that remain of above-ground Pueblo structures, likely used for storage, shelter, or ceremony by the Sinagua between the years 700 and 1400. Though time has worn them down, their placement still feels intentional, aligned with the flow of water, the shade of trees, and the rhythm of daily life. Now the trail gently winds through a shaded corridor, and the air begins to cool. We're approaching the well's outlet, where the water that's traveled thousands of years finally escapes into the open. This area was once part of a 7-mile-long canal system hand-dug by the Sinagua to irrigate their crops. You can still see the lime-coated walls of the original canal, hardened by centuries of mineral-rich water. It's quiet here, just the sound of birds, rustling leaves, and the soft trickle of water, a place where ancient engineering meets desert stillness. Just ahead, the sound of water grows louder, not a roar, but just a steady silvery rush. We've reached the outlet of Montezuma Well, where the ancient water finally escapes into the open world. After traveling underground for up to 10,000 years, it emerges here, slips through a narrow crevice in the rock, and begins its journey down a shaded canyon. This is where the Sinagua people worked their quiet engineering magic. They carved a canal system from this very spot, channeling the water across the landscape to irrigate their fields. You can still see the original canal walls, coated in white mineral deposits from the centuries of flow. It's a living artifact, part of a natural spring, part human ingenuity. I'm really noticing here that the air is cooler and the light is softer. Cottonwoods and willows lean in over the trail, and the outlet itself feels like a secret, tucked away beneath the well, still doing its job after all these years. It's not just water flowing out of the rock, it's time, it's memory, and the quiet persistence of life in the desert. We've reached the outlet of Montezuma Well, or at least as close as we can get today. The final stretch of the trail is closed, stopping just a few yards short of the exact spot where the water escapes. But even from here, you can still feel it, the cool air, the hush of the canyon, and the sense that something ancient is moving just out of sight. On past visits, we were able to walk right up to the outlet itself, to see the water slip through the rock and begin its journey down the shaded canyon. That memory lingers like a secret that we've been let in on, and we're privileged to see it. Now that we make our way back to the parking lot, thanks for riding along, Outlaws. From ancient cliff dwellings to bubbling sands and whispering cottonwoods, Montezuma Well never stops telling stories. You've just got to know where to listen. If you enjoyed the journey, hit that like button, share it with a fellow explorer, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the dusty edge of exploration. Until next time, stay curious and stay a little wild. And as always, thanks for watching.